Hello there and welcome back to another episode of our Luminar NEO Academy, the show where we help you to get the most out of this photo editing application. Now, if you've never been here before, my name is Jakub and I'm a creator and founder here at Clever Photographer. Now, before we're going to start, I have a few things I want to cover. First of all, at the end of the video, I'm gonna give you access to our popular Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet, so you make sure that you stay until the end. Also, if you don't own Luminar NEO or the HDR Merge plugin, get our discount code to get the best possible price, and you can find it in the description of this video. Finally, I would like to ask you to please like, comment and share on this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep creating content like this. In this video tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to create beautiful photo manipulation by using mobile phone and bridge. It's gonna be lots of fun and the result's gonna be great. But in the meantime, we're also gonna learn and improve our skills on how to use layers, masking, we're gonna learn how to create shadows, and we're gonna apply some local adjustments. So as you can see, we have a fair bit to do, so let's jump into Luminar NEO and start. So we are once again in Luminar NEO and we are starting in a catalog module. We are starting the tutorial by looking at the sample files. You can download them by heading into the description of this video, clicking on the link there, and that will bring you into our Dropbox account. From there you can download them and have them ready so you can follow me step by step. So to start with, what I want you to do, I want you to select the image with the mobile phone and then bring it into Edit module. You can do that by clicking on Edit on the top of your screen or hitting E on your keyboard. The first thing we need to do is to import the assets into our Layers panel. For this, we're going to turn our attention towards our Layers panel and just click on the plus sign. On the top, we're going to click on the Load Image or the plus sign and then navigate towards the location where are our sample files. Now we need to bring all of them in, so let's just do that one by one. First, we have the 100% black layer. Then again, click on Load Image, select the path and click on Open. Again, Load Image, select the castle and click on Open. And finally, again, Load Image and then the photographer. So then you click Open and you should have 4 assets ready for the editing. So now to start with, we're going to be using the bridge. So let's select the layer with the bridge, click on it, and it will be added to your layers and onto your image. Now, since we're here, let's quickly talk about the transformation of the layers. First come first, when we're looking at our layers panel, it's the one that has a blue frame that is selected. You can see that on our image it also has a blue frame, and when I hover over it, my mouse changes into this hand. So when I click and drag it, I can now drag it around the image. Now as you can see, in each of the corner of the blue frame there are little points, and you can use them to adjust the size of the image while keeping the original ratio of the image. When you hover over the sides of the image, you can then adjust the width or the height of the image individually. Now when you hover outside of the overall image, the mouse changes into these 2 arrows and you can use it to rotate the image around. So the first thing we need to do with this layer is to position it so it looks good. Now let's make it much bigger. So I think something like this to start with. And the idea is that the bridge will start at the bottom of the image. After that, also what I want you to do is to make sure that the bridge ends up outside of the phone. And to top it off, I would like this part of the bridge being somewhere on the edge of the screen. So for that, you need to make it a little bit bigger. So I think somewhere around here is looking good. So something like this. So we're looking for 3 points again. The bridge ending up outside of the mobile phone. This little turn of the bridge should be on the edge of the screen. And then this part should end up again outside of the image. Again, let's make sure that it's positioned right. So let's see, something like this is looking good. So now we have our layer positioned and we need to do a little bit of masking. Well, actually lots of masking, because we want to make sure that the bridge is only in our screen and then we have just the bridge coming out of the screen and leading out of the image. So for this, we're going to keep the opacity on 50. That's fine, so we can see the mobile phone, and we're going to move into the masking. So once again, make sure that you have your layer with the bridge selected and then click on the masking. In the masking, we want to go into the brush, and in the brush, we're going to be erasing parts of the image, so we want to switch to erase. Here we want to bring the softness down, and let's start with somewhere around 5. And let's start with quite big brush, just erasing the parts we don't need and where we don't have to worry about what we're erasing. So just here and again here. And when I'm talking about the screen of the mobile phone, we're just going to be using the black part. So we can erase all of this without any worrying. Again, this is looking good. And I think that's it with the big erasing. Now we need to zoom in, and we can do that by using Command or Control plus. And then by using the spacebar, we can navigate around the image. We need to adjust our size. So we're going to go to somewhere around, let's start with 79. And what you want to do is you want to click once at the start of the screen. So right here, and then hold Shift and click once at the back of the screen. So something like this. What it does, it creates a straight line between two of those points and connect them. So that's good. So we can erase all of this. Now we're going to move towards the side of the screen. So again, 1 point here, and then 1 point at the bottom. Now we can just use a little brush to erase the corner. And if we need, we can adjust it a little later. So don't worry too much about it. It's just a start. Now adjust the size. You can use the bracket keys on your keyboard to do that. And erase this part while we're here. Now, moving on this part, we're going to come back to it. So let's move to the side again, adjust the size, and again, one click here, hold the Shift, and one click on the top. Perfect. And again, let's just remove the side. So that is looking all good. Let's just remove these parts just to make sure that we are all good. And now we can turn our attention towards the more difficult part of the masking. So that's the bottom here. So what we want to do again is to maybe click once here and once at the end with holding a Shift to make sure that we create a straight line. Again, one click here and one at the bottom, somewhere around here. It's looking good. So now we can again remove all of this, adjust the size so it's faster. And we're doing great. Perfect. So all of this can go. And we can continue. So we're going to be focusing on this part now. Again, we can zoom in even further by using Command or Control plus. And now make the brush a little smaller. And very carefully remove these parts. If you want, you can increase the softness a little bit to somewhere around 10. So it's not completely hard. And just continue removing these parts. You can use the Shift or you can go one by one. It really is up to you. If you make a mistake, so like something like this, all you need to do is to switch your brush to paint and then paint that part back. So that's good. Now we can switch back. You can also use X on your keyboard and continue removing. Perfect. Now the start goes quite easily. Later on, we have a little bigger gaps between the different parts of the bridge, so we need to be a little more careful. Like in this case here, again, adjust the size and just continue removing it. Doesn't have to be 100% perfect, as long as it looks good. That's the most important. Again, let's continue. Looking great so far. Perfect. And one more here, and we're almost done with this side. So I hope you understand what we're trying to do. Now we're gonna do the other side of the bridge, and I'm gonna speed it up a little to make sure that we have a time for some more editing after. Okay, so we are done with the initial masking. So now what we can do is to go into our layer properties, come back into the properties tab and increase the opacity to 100. And there you have it. It's already looking great. As you can see, the bridge is coming out of the mobile phone and continue further outside of the image. So far we're looking really good. And now it's time to make it all a little bit more realistic. For this, we're going to add a little bit of shadow. To do this, we need to come back to our layers panel And in the layers panel, click on the plus sign. Here in my images, we should already have the 100% black layer. So just click on it to add it into your layers and onto our image. Now again, when we hover over it, we can just drag it around, and all we want to do is to make sure that it's under the bridge. Now we can go into our layer properties and increase the opacity to 100. The next thing we want to do is we want to go into the masking, and in the masking, go into the mask actions. In the mask actions, I want you to click on fill, so that creates a mask, and then invert, so basically it hides it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna paint in the shadow. So paint, for that we're gonna use a brush, so click on the brush, and then in the brush we wanna paint it in, so we're gonna keep and stay on paint. Now we want to zoom in, so let's use Command plus again to zoom in, and we wanna paint the shadow somewhere in this area. So for this, again, we want to adjust the size, but I think this is about right. Softness definitely on 100 and strength on 100. Now, following the example of the shadow on the hand, we want it really soft. So let's click one on the top and then make one at the bottom. So something like this here. After that, just paint the shadow in this area. And that's pretty much all there is to it. What we want to do now is we want to go into our layers panel and take the shadow and drag and drop it under the bridge. So that's the first thing. But of course it's way too strong. So to adjust it, we want to go back into our layer properties, click on properties, and here adjust the opacity of the shadow to get something that you like. For me, I think, let's have a look, something like this. Now let's zoom out and again see what we like. So I think something like this is looking really good, maybe even stronger. So let's stick with this for the time being. So now we have the shadow, and the next thing we want to do is to take this part of the bridge and match it a little bit better with the rest of the image. For this, we want to select our bridge layer and again make sure that it has the blue frame around it. After that, open the develop tool in your main toolbar and first adjust the exposure. Simply bring it down. Now don't worry about the whole image, just look at this part. So bring it down until you see something that you like. So we have the exposure adjusted and we can move into the color. In the color, adjust the temperature, again bring it down to blue and look at the rest of the image and see what you like. So for me, I think maybe something like this is looking good. After this, we can go into the masking. So click on masking and again use a brush. With the brush, we're just gonna paint this effect into certain parts of the image. So let's stick to the paint, adjust the size, and with the softness, stick to 100. With the strength, I would start somewhere around 30, 35, and let's just paint the effect into this part of the image. So I think something like this is looking good. And now we want to paint more at the bottom here, just to have it the darkest at the bottom of the screen. So this all is looking already good. I think maybe there is not enough transition here, so we can come back to the erase and just remove a part from it here. If we want, we can adjust the strength as well, so something like this. And that is looking much better. Let's have a look at the before and after, and you can already see the difference. So now we have added shadow, we have adjust the temperature and the brightness of the bridge. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a castle. So to do this, again, we're going to need the help of our layers panel. So we're going to come back there, click on the plus sign, and then select the layer with the castle. Once you click on it, again, it will appear on our image. And we can use the little corners of the new layer to adjust its size and position. So let's make it much smaller. Something like this. Of course, it needs to be a little bigger than the screen. And I think something like this when it comes to size is looking good. The next thing I would like to do is to come back into our layer properties and then flip it around. What we're looking for is to flip it horizontally. So just click on this little button and flip it around. After that, again, adjust the size, maybe make it even a little smaller. And I think position it somewhere around here. So we're going to use the same technique to remove it from the other parts of the image. We're going to use masking. So click on masking, click on the brush, and let's zoom in. So we're going to start with the edges. again, we're gonna adjust our brush. So with the size, let's start with that. With the softness, let's go to 5. And with the strength, let's stay on 100. Again, maybe zoom in even further. And again, one click here. And as you can see, I made a mistake. I started with the paint where I wanted to actually erase the part. So how we can fix this? Well, we're gonna click on the brush to come back and then go into the mask action. Then we're gonna clear everything we done. And then again, we're gonna click on invert to make sure that we start from the beginning. So again, we're gonna go back into the brush. And this time we're gonna make sure that we on erase. Again, make one click here. And then go all the way up. Hold the shift key and make one click on the top. Perfect. So now let's zoom out and we're looking good. What we want to do is we want to increase the opacity of the layer. So we go back to the properties, increase it. And the last thing we want to do is we want to mask it away so we get the path and the bridge continue on our image. So again, let's zoom in a little bit. Go back to our masking. Again, we're going to be removing part of the layer. So we're going to go on erase. This time we want the softness all the way up. Strength only somewhere around 30-35 and maybe just a little bigger brush. And let's start by removing this part. Yeah, and you can see what I'm doing already. Adjust the size. And I think that something like this is actually looking quite good. Let's bring back a little part here. And I have added some part on the edge, but that's fine. We can fix that in a moment. Let's just zoom in again. Just to make sure that it's all looking good here. Then we go on to erase. Softness again around 5. And strength on 100. And just one click. Shift, one click at the bottom. And that's it. Let's zoom out. And we have our castle in. How cool is this? So we have our castle in. And we can continue. The next thing we want to do is we want to add a photographer here. So how are we going to do this? Again, as you guessed it, we're going to go into our layers, click on the plus sign, and in my images, we're going to select the layer with the photographer on it. Click on it to add it. And this time, just go straight into layer properties, increase the opacity to 100, and then navigate straight into the masking. In the masking, we're going to use the portrait background removal tool. So it's the last one on the list. Click on it and give it a moment for it to recognize the edges of the person. After that, click on remove and it will remove everything other than the photographer. So it did pretty good job. We can now zoom in by using again Command or Control plus, and let's see what we have. It's actually very, very good. There are some parts which need a little bit of fixing. And for this, we can go into the refinement brush and then just zoom in again and maybe use the transition brush and paint over some parts of the image. You can see that he still has a little bit of white here, so we can fix that like that. We can also paint here. Let's have a look. Everything else is looking pretty decent, so I think we can continue. So we're gonna close the refinement brush. We're gonna jump out to the properties and again zoom out. What we wanna do now, we wanna adjust the size of the person. So let's do that. And then also adjust the position. So let's make sure that he stands somewhere around here. And of course, you're looking for something little realistic. So looking at the size of the bridge there, I think you want him to be about this big. That's about it. Now we can zoom in a little closer and have a look at what we have here. Now looking at him, he has a little white edge on this part of the image. Now you can fix this very quickly by going into the masking. Again, using the brush and again, making sure that you are on erase. Now, when it comes to size of the brush, you want it quite small. With the softness, you want it nice and soft, but I think somewhere around 40 will do. And with the strength, let's start around 50. And now you just want to brush away these white parts very gently because he's going to be very small. So it doesn't really need to be that perfect. So now we're done with this, we have removed the white edges and it's looking all good. To finish it off, what we want to do, we want to add a little bit of shadow under him so it looks a little bit more like he belongs there. Again, we can use our black layer for this, so we can navigate back into our layers, right click on the black layer and click on duplicate layer. It takes a moment and then it copy and paste it back into our image, and what we want to do, we want to position it under the layer of the person. Now, of course, it's at the wrong position, so what we need to do, we need to reset the mask. Come back into the masking while still making sure that you have your dark layer selected, go into the mask actions and click on clear. So this way, everything disappears. Now we can use a brush to add the shadow into it. So again, let's zoom in and adjust the brush, softness on 100, definitely, size, maybe something around here. And with the strength at the moment, let's stay on 100. So just very gently, maybe a little bigger. What we want to do, we just want to paint a shadow somewhere around here. So this is looking good. Maybe a little stronger around him. And let's just make it to go over the plants as well. Now what we want to do, we want to go into the properties and play around with the opacity to see what we like. Sometimes it's a little bit easier when you zoom out. So let's zoom out. And I think it's way too strong. So we just want to do something maybe like this. Now I'm not happy with the mask. So let's go back into the masking. Let's zoom in again. And while we're here, what we can do, we can erase certain parts of it. So that's what we're gonna do. Something like this. I think it's looking much better. And that's about it. Zoom out again. Adjust the opacity again to see what we like. So I think something like this is good. And that's about it. So now we are pretty much done. So the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna export it to merge all the layers together and apply few global adjustments to just finish the effect. So to do this, all you need to do is to right click on your image and then click on export. In your export window, make sure that you navigate towards the location where you want to save it and then just quickly go through the export setting. What you want to do is you want to use the TIFF format. You want to go for the 16 bits and the resolution of 300 pixels on inch. You're looking for the highest possible resolution. Make sure that your resize is on original and that your save transparency is unchecked. Once you set, you just click on save and export it so you can continue with the edit. So now we are back in the catalog module, and again we are looking at our sample files where we saved our edit. Select it and then move it back into the edit module. And as you can see, it has all the elements, however, we have them all on one layer. So what are some of the global adjustments we could use here? Well, first of all, we could add a vignette. So we can do that by clicking on a vignette on our main toolbar and bring the amount down until you can see the effect. After that, click on choose subject and move it around so it is kinda in the middle of your phone. Once you're happy with it, just click on the top, apply it to the image and move on some other tools. There is multiple different tools you could use, but for us, let's just use the mystical and then increase the amount slider to add a little bit of extra effect to it. And after that, let's add a little bit of matte effect. So we can go into the matte tool just above it and increase it until we like the result. We can add a little bit of fade and that's us finished. Again, close it to apply it. And as you can see, by adding global adjustments to it, you merge everything together and make the result even better. And there you have it. If you want a copy of our popular Luminar NEO shortcut cheat sheet, there is nothing easier than heading to our website cleverphotographer.com/LuminarGift. While you're there, you can also check out one of our popular Luminar NEO products, or you can stay here and watch more videos about Luminar NEO. For today, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please make sure that you like, comment and share on this video. And also don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep creating content like this. For today, thank you very much for watching. My name was Jakub and I can't wait to see you in the next video.